Hello and welcome to our ongoing series of conversations with people that are making a difference with how it is that we live our digital lives. Extremely fortunate today to catch up with Girish Naganathan. He is the CTO of Technicolor Connected Home. Girish, thank you so much for taking the time to chat.
Lane, nice to be here.
So I wanted to talk with you a little bit about the role of IoT, the Internet of Things, and how it's evolving and the new industrial and vertical market opportunities that are unfolding for Technicolor as you expand beyond the connected home environment to leverage the expertise that you bring to market. And I thought I'd start by having you address what you've seen in the IoT market, how it's evolved in the last 5 or 6 years.
Lane, thanks for this question. It's a great question to start with. Processing powers are increasing tremendously, and with the cost of sensors and ability to connect multiple devices, multiple things, so to speak, with a centralized hub is the way in which the world is forming into a connected world. In terms of the services that were being offered, previously it was more centered around connected home and digitalization of the home. These services have gone beyond the home into several verticals of building management, building energy management, industrial IoT, and connected spaces by and large. The combination of having a very high processing hub with multiple sensors that's connected, with the power of cloud and IoT platforms that come in, offers information, data, and service at the fingertips of the consumers and enterprises.
Excellent. So sticking with the enterprise market, how do you see new businesses generating new revenue streams as a result of the ability to harness in the IoT or Internet of Things technologies?
You look at it, there are two vectors. One is brownfield industrial products that have been made for the last half a century that are bread and butter of the global economy, so to speak. And these devices, these appliances, these equipment can all be digitalized, and companies are going through transformation to digitalize the old brownfield products. Likewise, the new products that are coming in are automatically coming in with a lot of sensor connected devices in all these different industries. Where it presents an opportunity is a new stream of serving the needs of customers, the values that companies like Technicolor can bring in, the value in connecting these companies with several different, both brownfield and greenfield equipment into digital equipments, and taking the data from all these different equipment, processing this data in the cloud, and offering it as a service to many of these verticals. That's how the enterprise opportunities shape up in the near future.
Interesting. Are you seeing particular industries embrace these opportunities sooner than others? Are there sort of folks that are blazing fundamentally new trails as a result of the capabilities of IoT?
There are all walks and all industries that are participating in this trend and transformation. This is widespread. This is very fragmented, and this is almost ad hoc across multiple different industries. By and large, if you look at it, there is automotive, there is building management, building energy management, industrial IoT, connected spaces like malls and connected cities have all started to embrace, and these are the different verticals that where such opportunities exist for this transformation.
From a longitudinal perspective, looking over time, what do you see as sort of the early days opportunities? How do you expect it to evolve over the midterm, and where do you see sort of the technology delivering its full potential over the long term?
The early days, the opportunities are evolving as an extension of what happened in the connected home in these different verticals. The early days, you would expect to see sensors connected to IoT hubs. In the short to medium range, you would see all this getting converged in the cloud as a way of offering services. In the 3 to 5 year horizon, you would see with technologies like 5G and LoRa and several other connectivity technologies that are coming in, and the standardization of technologies across these different sensors and connected devices, and the proliferation of the cloud and IoT platforms that's happening, and the infrastructure that's happening in the cloud, this leads us to a very hyper-connected world and truly to live the dream of an Internet of Connected Things.
Excellent. From a business perspective, and folks across these various industries that you've described, are there any particular requirements that need to be in place for them to begin walking down this journey? What do you think needs to be done for enterprises to leverage IoT applications as it is today and into the future?
Enterprises have to have a clear understanding of what is the purpose of IoT. IoT has become more of a buzzword in some circumstances, as we have seen. But in many cases, enterprises have to become very clear on what their objectives are. Are they trying to improve their operational efficiencies? Are they trying to provide value-added services to their consumers? And are they trying to create new business models in terms of post-sales and warranty services and support? They have to become very clear about their objectives in terms of digitalizing, in terms of making a connected device world for their own analog industries. Once they come up with that clarity, then they could decide how to work with companies that bring in these values, in terms of hardware, in terms of sensors, in terms of edge connected software or a cloud and IoT platform software, and bring that ecosystem together. Once they have that clarity, they can decide on the different business models that exist, whether to work through a system integrator or whether to work directly with as a solutions provider to become a system integrator themselves and to deploy these technologies and these advances in their industries. That's how I would see the evolution coming on in different industries.
We live in an economy now and in an era where you can't get through a sentence without talking about innovation. To what extent do you see IoT contributing or accelerating the pace of innovation in the industries that you've been talking about with us today?
What I believe IoT opens up is a new vista in innovation in different ways, innovation in different business models, innovation in the technology and services that different enterprises have not been able to offer, and innovation in terms of the continuity of keeping consumers for much longer time in terms of stickiness. Let me give you an example. If an air conditioning HVAC company that has been traditionally selling HVAC systems has to innovate in a way that these devices that were traditional, install it once and forget about it kind of a situation, becoming install it once, embed sensors so that you can monitor those devices, you can live through the consumers through the life cycle of it, and create a distribution channel of after sales and parts and support and warranty. Now it starts to create innovation in multiple vectors than just in terms of product innovation. Product innovation is the most obvious, and that is something that's tangible, that everybody can look and feel and realize it. But the consequences of an IoT or a hyper-connected world creates an innovation that proliferates much beyond a product innovation.
It does. It does sound like it introduces opportunities to more rapidly and consistently and pervasively turn product offerings into, in fact, service offerings. Am I on the right track?
That is correct. Companies that want to provide products will eventually be used as product as a service, and relates into continuous value add for the consumers and for the enterprises that are using them, creates different kinds of services that previously was just not possible.
Interesting. So it's a relatively new operationalized environment. We've been talking about IoT for some time and describing its promise, but it looks like it's finally getting to market. What are the key success factors? What are the key performance indicators? How do we know, or how do organizations that are beginning to embrace IoT in new ways, how do we know if they're making progress? What are the keys to success?
The adoption and the power of platforms and the adoption in the different verticals that is starting to leverage and bring the partnerships together and to bring the ecosystem together. And once you create the partnership and the ecosystem around it and the adoption rate increases, it's a network effect of connected devices. 10 devices have less effect than 1,000 devices or 10,000 devices. And as the scale increases in connectivity, the power of the adoption becomes very evident, and that would be self-evident at that point.
Interesting. So how is this increased connectivity, enabled by IoT, going to change the landscape as people deploy or operate what have typically been fairly staid brick and mortar industrial operations? I'm thinking about commercial operations of building, the operations of commercial buildings, the industrial manufacturing environment, which is typically an OT intensive business, an operational technology intensive business, or even residential, multi-dwelling residential facilities and things like that. Do you see those being fundamentally transformed as a result of IoT?
I do. In terms of both the consumer experience in the industries that you talked about, whether it's commercial buildings, industrial buildings, or residential buildings, their consumer experience starts to transform in many different ways. The ease of access, the ease of ability to remote manage and control data as well as devices. But it also fundamentally transforms the way we perceive these traditional enterprises, where they were initially seen as a one-time brick and mortar type industries, to something that is digitally connected, that's digitally pervasive, and data-driven organizations that will start to thrive in ways that we cannot even imagine today in terms of the data that and the flexibility that these enterprises and industries will start to provide to their consumers.
Excellent. Well, Girish, I can't let this conversation move any further without trying to figure out the Technicolor Connected Home angle. Tell me a little bit about how you foresee Technicolor Connected Home contributing to the evolution of IoT as a technology and to these new industries, helping those industries flourish in this IoT economy.
Technicolor sees itself over years of experience in making connected devices and in the ability in the industry to create the partnerships that we've been able to create in the past several years to offer value to enterprise customers in connect and collect. And while partnering with cloud and IoT platform providers in order to do the computational side of it, to create services for our enterprise customers, we see ourselves offering a platform to bring many of the different entities to work together to offer traditional industries an opportunity to digitalize themselves.
Interesting. And from that perspective, it sounds like you're at the center of a fairly robust ecosystem that will have to be in place. It's kind of the quarterback position, to use the American sports analogy. Is that how you see it as well? It's sort of to what extent are things like open platform to support the different services and different offerings? How important will that be to the success of IoT going forward?
Open platforms and open systems are going to be absolutely key, where there's standardization and adoption of standards in order to connect. When you connect tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of things and devices, it becomes very, very standards-based and open platforms-based. So answer your question on whether we see ourselves as a quarterback, in some cases we do. In other cases, we see ourselves playing a different role. And it depends on the enterprise we are trying to serve and the use case that we are trying to address. We don't have a fixed position necessarily, but we are here to create value for our consumers. We are here to create value for our enterprises in whatever position we play in this ecosystem.
Outstanding. Girish, what a wonderful conversation. Very interesting to hear how Technicolor Connected Home is moving beyond its traditional environment to serve what is clearly a very relevant adjacent space. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat and for shedding light on the emerging opportunities to harness the power of IoT to transform the economy.
Thanks, Lane. Appreciate your time as well.